I have no idea what we're doing in this video. You want me to take the lead? Hey y'all, it's Adam and Robert with Liber & Company. Today we have some non-alcoholic spirit alternatives, and we're curious. So we're gonna kind of walk you through our first impressions, and then we're gonna try them in an old-fashioned, just using our old-fashioned cocktail syrup. So this one is marketing itself as the spirit of bourbon. They describe this as a rich, oaky, non-alcoholic alternative to bourbon. So it's got B vitamins and other functional ingredients to help ignite your energy and elevate your mood. So maybe it's a little bit of an interesting take. So not only is it a kind of the health angle that is, I think, built into these the quality bottling. You know, they really. Are you serious? Okay, you try it. Thanks. This will put some hair on your chest. I think there is this health conscious or lifestyle angle. You know, the ingredient list includes like taurine, which you find in like Monster energy drinks. So it's like supposed to elevate your mood and I think energize you a little bit. So I'm just gonna kind of take the approach here of comparing this to bourbon a little bit. Yeah. So on the nose, you're definitely getting like some vanilla. Yeah. A little bit of cinnamon, caramel, or like butterscotch. Like there's some flavor in there. And you're obviously missing the like alcohol fumes that burn your nose a little bit when you smell bourbon or alcohol, and that's not present here. There is something that is trying to like mimic that kind of burn. You're definitely getting a little bit of a alcohol sensation. Yeah, but I don't know what that would be. I do get a lot of cinnamon in it. Yeah, cinnamon, and then that finish is almost kind of like a capsaicin burn, like a pepper or something. It's in the back of your throat. It's not a poorly executed thing. I mean, I think they're probably obviously trying to go for that alcohol burn. Let's move on to the next one. Almost like a excuse me. Excuse me. Almost like a little bit of tea. Almost like if you put black tea or sun tea or something and add a little bit of heat at the end. But so this is Kentucky 74, also calling itself a distilled non-alcoholic spirit. So real quick, I mean this one, I don't think this one says that it's distilled. This one's just a non-alcoholic alternative to bourbon. I think a couple of these do claim, or maybe all the rest of them do claim, that they are actually distilled products. So I don't really know a whole lot about that process, if they're distilling it and then somehow stripping away the alcohol, but they're definitely marketing it as a distilled product, which I think maybe is like a credibility play, basically saying that, hey, this is actually treated exactly like a spirit is treated, just without the alcohol. So what's the smell like on this one? So I mean, this one smells a lot more like bourbon. Yeah, definitely. Like, it's got more of corn. I get corn in this. Definitely has more of the corn. Almost even has an alcohol scent to it. But probably just because that corn and alcohol are so closely related to one another on the nose in bourbon. Yeah, this smells mostly like bourbon. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying it smells like exactly like bourbon, but I mean enough like bourbon where you say, oh yeah, that mimics bourbon pretty closely. As far as aromatics, there is still kind of that caramel, like maple thing, which occasionally I'll get with a real bourbon, but I'll say on both of these, like a real bourbon is probably a little more like complex, truly complex, where if meaning if you're describing something as, oh, it's got vanilla and caramel, like when I smell that in a bourbon, they're not distinct. It's kind of like this vanilla caramel butterscotch thing. Yeah, these I can almost smell like linear flavors. So I mean, that almost has like kind of that hay, thing, like a barnyard kind of which bourbon can. Right. Interesting. Yeah. No, I'm curious about this one. Not super sweet either. Next up, we have this Ritual zero proof whiskey alternative. So it's saying right on the label: warm caramel, hemp leaves, green peppercorn, prickly ash, and toasted spices. So to be honest, those are not things I would really associate with whiskey. As I say, I've never heard those. Madagascar vanilla, capsicum fruit, sugar floss, and mesquite smoke. So some of these, obviously the oak, the vanilla, some of these stuff I've never heard of in my life. No, me neither. But we'll see if it tastes like bourbon. This would, I guess, be truly like a whiskey alternative. So maybe appealing to a whiskey drinker, but maybe not trying to replace whiskey, because I smell this just designed to be.
And it smells really nothing like bourbon.
Right, but it's designed to be like abstractly some of what
Bourbon drinkers seek.
Yeah, complexity and some type of balance that that bourbon hits. This one has a little more smoke to it than the other ones did to me, but
this is not meant to be rude by any means, but this smells a little bit like dip.
Yeah, this does smell like tobacco to me.
Yeah.
This has like a tobacco
like
note, but more like to me like a cigar. But
yeah, but like I don't know if it's the.
Oh, there is a little bit of like a menthol type of thing there too.
Yeah, I don't know what that's coming from, but
none of these have been off-putting to me. I mean, I think they're hitting different balances so far. This one's like kind of cool in the front,
Yep,
and it has that same like capsaicin burn that. Well, that one said it right.
Or said capsicum fruit.
Yeah, capsicum fruit, which probably has some type of pepper, but has the same almost identical type of burn as this one did.
The last one is clearly not a whiskey alternative. It's a clear spirit. It's Seedlip's Spice 94 aromatic blend. Seedlip has kind of been a market leader in the non-alcoholic booze alternative market for the last few years. I've thought of their products just as a consumer in kind of more the gin realm. So whereas these we would try in an old fashioned, this one I will try in an old fashioned as well, but I expect it to perform much differently.
I think this one's childproof. This is probably not even in the family of bourbon, and
this has a lot of cardamom.
Yeah, I smell cardamom. I smell lemon lime. But both of those this reminds me of our tonic syrup, frankly.
Yeah, not without any sugar.
Yeah, this reminds me
of bitter. So it's got the aromatic profile of more like a tonic, right. But strip away that quinine and strip away the sugar.
I think a lot of these were probably missing a little bit of the middle note, and that might have been a lack of sugar. Like you're getting a little bit of a watery-ish thing. As far as like how well each of these mimics or kind of evokes bourbon or a whiskey, obviously the Seedlip doesn't seem to be wanting to do that. These three, all hit kind of different notes. A little bit, they bring a little bit of something that a bourbon brings. I would say that this one for me probably came the closest to.
Yeah, definitely for me. This one, because of that corn component.
Yeah, it feels like you almost took a whiskey, a bourbon, or like I said, had some of that even grassy rye, but you took something that had a mash bill and distilled it, and you actually stripped away the alcohol. And the alcohol is going to take out some flavor and some complexity, but what's left feels like this could be almost, kind of like the shadow of a bourbon. This one brought more bourbon flavor, but it felt a little bit like you were trying to design something with bourbon-like flavors in it. Okay, so we've poured up some old fashions.
Can I take the lead on this one?
Sure.
Because you started every segment.
No, you're good.
So we poured up an old fashioned using each one of these with the understanding that maybe this Seedlip one is not like the other ones as like a bourbon alternative. And we're just gonna try each one and see how closely it resembles an old fashioned made with actual bourbon. So we'll start over here with the free spirits.
The taste on that is interesting, but a lot of cinnamon, and I would say that maybe it's just the stirring and the dilution, but the overarching flavor is that burn at the end. I would say for me, the sugar helps balance things out.
That's not very close to an old fashioned.
It's not for me either.
Significantly sweeter than an old fashioned.
So I love a good old fashioned. So for me, the experience here is, it's a nice balance of sweet, and then the predominant flavor at the end though is that burn. Like you're not getting a lot of the body of a bourbon. It's pleasant for me, but I don't think it is in line with the experience of drinking an old fashioned.
So I totally agree. The old fashioned made with the free spirits bourbon alternative was I didn't get as much of the flavor of the capsaicin or that burn on the back end. I got quite a bit of cinnamon on it, and it was almost tasted like a cinnamon cocktail, to be honest.
Like Fireball almost.
Yeah, but because I think the combination of the cinnamon here and then also our old-fashioned syrup's got the bitters, and that's got quite a bit too. So moving on, we'll do this. The one that we both agreed was more of the true bourbon alternative of the group.
So same deal. I'm not getting, excuse me, like a lot of the, and probably because
it has the corn on the nose at least.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but a lot of that, I think what happens is that alcohol fumes carry up a lot of that aroma even off the surface of the drink. So when you lack that,
#science. Easy now, you don't want to get buzzed. Definitely corn. It definitely tastes a little less sweet than the free spirits. So more kind of getting the sugar from the sugar source, which is where it should be coming from in a traditional old fashioned. But that's, you know, that's close to that's what I would imagine a non-alcoholic old fashioned sort of like tasting like. Moving to the Ritual Zero Proof, this is the one that we sort of disagreed on. I thought was the farthest away from a bourbon.
I kind of get three distinct things here. On the front end, I do still get a little bit of that cool, like, yeah, something menthy, mentholy type of thing. And then I get smoke. And then after that, I get the same, like, capsaicin burn of this. So it's almost like 1, 2, 3. You know, cool, smoke, burn.
And this one doesn't taste very much like an old fashioned at all to me. Almost
Same.
Like you said earlier, I think, I don't remember if it was about this one, but almost has a tea kind of quality to it. The Seedlip is, I like the flavor of that. It is.
So, sorry, this one on the nose is way more pungent to me.
Definitely more aromatically rich
Like
than
when I
probably
smell this, it
all
could
of
be
these.
like a cocktail to me. Like I do smell this, and I'm like, oh yeah, there you go. There's cardamom. There's, you know,
Definitely
lemon,
getting
lime.
cardamom, the citrus, and that's an enjoyable drink. I would probably, just as a personal preference, probably not be able to drink more than a couple of those because it's so much cardamom to me, and that's just a flavor that I like. I find novel in a drink, but you know, drinking cardamom all night is pretty tough. Maybe using it as more like a liqueur or something like that to complement, again, the same way we might use our tonic.
Which I think is how a lot of these are intended to be used. Like, I think it's you know, Kentucky 74 that kind of recommends going halvesies, you know, using half spirit and half alternative to just
a low
lower,
ABV.
yeah, low ABV option.
If I had a friend approach me and say, hey, Robert, make me an old fashioned, but I'm not drinking, I would probably reach for the Kentucky 74. I think that this product, of the ones we've tasted here at least, most closely resembles a whiskey. I mean,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I'll be clear too, from my opinion, all of these seem like, you know, pretty high quality products. Like they all seem to have put their best foot forward in trying to design something that mimics the experience of drinking alcohol, or, you know, in this case specifically bourbon.
If we were tasked with making mocktails or non-alcoholic cocktails and we had more at our disposal than just sugar and bitters,
These might play a little differently.
These would play a little differently, and you could probably make some really nice tasting mocktails or non-alcoholic cocktails with all of these products.
I agree. Yeah, these are all great tools to have in your toolbox. So thank you for joining us in this little tasting. If y'all have tried any of these out, or if there's a brand or a maker that we left out, we would love to hear about it in the comments. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and check us out for more videos.